The scripts for the Harry Potter movies were awesome, but you know what made them better? The cast's amazing ad-libs that made it to the final cuts.
In my head, I'm going, what is he doing?
How did Ralph Fiennes scare even adults on the set? Which improvisation got fans enraged? And what made Helena Bonham Carter fear for two of her co-stars?
That was bad. I was mortified, actually.
The Dark Lord's final speech. Yeah, we're talking about that monologue in which Voldemort was sure that Harry had died and he won the war. Despite this silly laughter, you can't deny that it was one of the darkest moments in the series. It was pretty painful to watch Voldemort mocking the people who loved Harry.
Well, I must say I'd hoped for better.
But did you know that his disturbing speech wasn't scripted? It turns out that Ralph Fiennes came up with it all by himself. Just imagine, he'd changed the lines in each take and randomly picked different people to confront. Even for the Death Eater actors, it all felt pretty unsettling.
I've never seen anybody want to do a scene so many times over and over.
Just imagine, they'd shoot it for weeks, and no one would ever know what Fiennes would do or say. It kept an entire courtyard full of extras and actors on their toes, Jason Isaacs revealed. The final scene that we saw in the movie was a combination of multiple takes. And of course, they had to include this particular one. The most unsettling hug ever. Remember how Draco's parents called him to go to Voldemort's side? Of course, the young Malfoy obeyed. But he never expected what would happen next.
Well done, Draco. Well done.
Truly, this was the most awkward hug in the entire cinematic history. And it got to our screens thanks to Ralph Fiennes and him alone. Even Tom Felton had no idea that the Voldemort actor was going to do it. He was genuinely terrified when he hugged him.
In my head, I'm going, what is he doing? Yeah, incredibly awkward, but also chilling.
You can easily understand the young man. After all, wouldn't you be terrified if Voldemort suddenly decided to give you a hug? Another funny thing is, they did around 25 takes of this scene, and Fiennes hugged Felton in only one of them, so you can imagine Tom's surprise when he saw it chosen for the film. However, the Draco actor added some unscripted moments too. Bossing Goyle and Crabbe like a pro. It was one of the funniest moments in the Chamber of Secrets. You certainly remember how Harry and Ron drank the Polyjuice potion, and how Harry forgot to take off his glasses before meeting Malfoy.
Why are you wearing glasses?
Harry didn't find anything better than to say that he was reading, and Draco's reaction to that was priceless.
I didn't know you could read.
Hopefully, Goyle didn't have to explain himself after that, because he probably couldn't read. Anyway, did you know that Tom improvised this line because he forgot what he was supposed to say? And since it was so funny, the scene made it to the final cut. Funnily enough, Felton also improvised another scene in the movie. It was one of the final ones, where Hagrid returns to Hogwarts, and everyone is clapping. The actor who played Crabbe apparently got into the mood and started to stand up too. It was funny how Tom pulled him down so that he didn't ruin the take. But it was so in character for Draco that the editing crew kept it in the film. And you know what? It runs in the family. Because the actor behind Draco's father is also very good at improv. Jason Isaacs' biggest mistake. The actor behind Lucius Malfoy was an excellent choice. He didn't only look perfect for the part, but also contributed a lot to his character's development. From the very first film he appeared in, Isaacs tried adding something to the scenes. For example, at the end of Chamber of Secrets, Malfoy talks to Dumbledore in his office. Harry is also there during their conversation, and it ends very interestingly.
Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day.
This line came from Isaacs right on the spot, but the scene wouldn't be so good if Dan Radcliffe didn't step in as well.
Don't worry. I will be.
That's right, it was an improvisation as well. And it wasn't all, because as Isaacs was leaving the headmaster's office, he decided to kick the air. It looked like he stumbled over something, but later the actor suggested adding Dobby in post-production. The scene showed just how cruel Lucius was, like the next one, where he almost cast a killing curse on Harry. Did you know how this scene even happened? The director told Jason to use any spell in it, but the actor had no idea what to say.
I remember turning to someone at Grip going, "Do you know a spell?" And he went, "No, mate." I said, "Nothing. I don't know what I meant to do a spell." He said, "I think Avada Kedavra or something."
Little did he know that this simple improvisation would cost him so much. The franchise fans couldn't believe that he'd do such a thing.
I got a mailbag from thousands and thousands of people. People are still annoyed about it. How dare you? You were going to kill Harry Potter. I didn't know.
So yeah, if you're still angry at Jason, it's time to let it go. Now let's talk about Harry's friends. The function of a rubber duck. We're going back to the Chamber of Secrets. That was the time when Harry was still getting acquainted with the magical world. And in a way, the magical world wanted to learn more about the things that were so familiar to him. Primarily, it was Mr. Weasley. He had always been fascinated by Muggles and everything about them. So when he got his hands on someone who'd been living with Muggles his whole life, Ron's father couldn't stop himself from asking questions. And one of them was especially confusing.
What exactly is the function of a rubber duck?
That's a good question, actually. How would you answer it? And here's a funny thing. Dan's confusion wasn't acting because the line wasn't scripted. Mark Williams, who played Mr. Weasley, came up with it himself. What's more, they did multiple takes, and the actor would ask something different in each one. Every time, he tried to make sure that his question made the scene as funny as possible. And at the editing stage, they chose the one they deemed the best. Don't know about you, but we'd like to see the bloopers with those other takes. By the way, the next scene could have easily become a blooper too. The very first spark. At the end of the Chamber of Secrets, everyone was happy to greet Basilisk's petrified victims back to the Great Hall, alive and well. As Hermione ran toward her friends, she was supposed to hug Harry and Ron, but she only hugged Harry. And when it was Ron's turn, she only gave him a handshake. It looked awkward, right? And it wasn't acting because Emma Watson really felt embarrassed at that moment. After all, she had to hug two boys. Of course, Dan and Rupert were her friends, but it still wasn't easy for a 12-year-old girl to film this kind of scene. Interestingly, the filming crew decided not to do another take, as the improv turned out to be pretty cute. Besides, it foreshadowed the development of Hermione and Ron's relationship. It was as if the first spark ran between those two, right? And here's another funny, unscripted moment with them. Emotional range of a teaspoon. Obviously, when Harry had his first kiss ever, he had to tell his friends about it, and they both behaved just like a teenage boy and girl would. Ron giggled at his friend sharing a smooch with Cho Chang.
That bad at it, aren't you?
And Hermione tried to explain why Cho was crying so much those days. After all, the young lady had a lot going on around her. Ron would never understand her struggle.
One person couldn't feel all that. I'd explode.
And you probably remember Hermione's brilliant response to that.
Just because you've got the emotional range of a teaspoon.
This line was scripted. If you're a book fan, you might even remember it was there in the book. But what followed in the scene was a complete accident. All three of the actors started laughing at the line, and it looked so nice as a continuation of a scene, especially in such a dark movie, that the director decided to keep it in the final cut. However, the Hermione actress didn't only have fun on the Harry Potter set. Bellatrix and Hermione's girl-to-girl. It was one of the most disturbing scenes in the franchise, and Emma's dedication to her craft made it even more impressive. The Deathly Hallows director, David Yates, shared with the fans that she did extensive research preparing for filming. The Hermione actress even watched documentaries about people who survived torture and shared their experiences. And on the shooting day, she completely turned into her character and behaved as if she were really tortured. Yates also explained that he didn't film the scene as a usual one, where you say action and cut. I kind of let the camera roll for 4 or 5 minutes, and I let Helena and Emma improvise to a certain extent those moments, so they could build an intensity together, the director shared. This improvisation was quite hideous due to Emma's cries of pain. They sounded so realistic that after they were done, Helena approached the young actress to check if she was okay. But Bonham Carter didn't really hurt her co-star then, unlike she did in an earlier film, channeling her inner Bellatrix. Indeed, Helena was a perfect choice for this character. After all, even her real-life laughter is the same as Bella's crazy giggle. But there was one scene where the actress was too much like her character. I think I took my sadism a bit too literally, Helena commented. It was the scene where Bellatrix held Neville at the tip of her wand in the Order of the Phoenix.
As I put it in, he went that way, and I think it actually did draw blood inside his ear.
That must have hurt. But Matthew Lewis was brave enough to keep acting and didn't say anything until after the scene was finished. The injury was pretty serious, and the actor still had some internal bleeding in a few days.
That was terrible. I felt really mortified.
However bad it was, the incident probably helped Matthew play the scene better. Which one of these improvised moments is your favorite? Share in the comments below. and then watch our other Harry Potter videos on OSSA movies.